I want to take this time to rationalize, firstly to myself and then to you guys, why even bother making videos like this? Because if you think about this, this goes against all of the principles in which you would edit, shoot. If you're talking about retention, this is the worst strategy to go for in terms of content. So, why this strategy? What's so appealing to me about this? Just me and the camera talking like this, where you get to experience, in essence, my room uninterrupted, unfiltered. First, I think is that this allows me to be as raw and authentic as possible. Like I said, it cuts off all the filters. It it makes room for bullshit to flow through. And to me, that's very important because I, instead of hiding away behind a script, now I'm only hiding behind a framework. And the framework is something that I genuinely believe in. And it's something that I've invested a lot of time into, which is why I'm able to talk about certain frameworks the way that I am doing right now. But the only limitation is that my understanding of these frameworks is very low. It is the highest it has been, but it is still significantly lower than what I would have liked it to be, or what I would like it to be in the next 5 years. So, this is just a way for me to build on top of this framework with you guys. This is a way for me to sort of peel back into my own mind and connect the dots between seemingly unrelated ideas. I find a lot of value in piecing together pieces of puzzle, linking dots between seemingly unrelated things just to find an inkling of a connection. And when I do find that connection, it's just like, it's just like a mind fuck sort of a moment. And I live for that. Like it's second nature to me right now that I can make fine distinctions between certain things and draw a relation from something that's seemingly completely non-related and club them together and present this as like, whoop, here you go. It's sort of like imagining the intangible and then making that tangible. So for example, I love perfumes. I'm wearing one right now, and the one that I'm wearing is actually a perfume that I mixed myself. So that's what I'm really fascinated with, mixing perfumes. If you live in a decent enough city and you go to a mall, there is probably a kiosk there that has something similar to this, wherein you can go and blend a couple of different oils together, fragrances together, and make your own perfume. So that's essentially what I do as well, except I am a little bit more methodical with it. I don't let the people that are running the kiosk tell me which scents will go well with each other. I love creating my own little blends, and they become blends that I can never replicate again because there's a lot of intricacy that's involved with this. So, part of the perfume making journey for me is the nomenclature of the base of the perfumes. So, what I mean by that is if the base is named sweet leather, then all of a sudden you can smell what sweet leather might be. And if you backtrack on what sweet leather might be, it's sort of like you can put another sense to it. You can put taste to sweet leather. Like, how would leather drizzled in maple syrup taste like? What? Right? Like, that's the instinctual reaction. But now I urge you to just picture that in your mind, and it's like smoked, right? And this leather, it's emitting a very leathery flavor and a very sugary flavor because of the maple syrup. Now imagine what that would smell like. So that's kind of the essence of sweet leather, right? It wasn't exactly what I had envisioned, but it was a good starting ground to experiment with later. And then I started imagining how this might go with other scents that are sort of diametrically opposite, like a vanilla, for example. And then combining both of them together, you create something that's distinctly unique that you can't get in any perfumed bottle. No brand will make a scent like that and give it to you. And yet, the perfumes that I wear are somewhat of a conversation starter. I don't mean to brag, but it is something that I take a lot of pride in because I've developed a keen nose for it. And I started doing this more methodically as time went on. Like, it's been 2 years since I started making my own perfumes, and now I am at the stage where I can discern excellent smell from really good smell. And I know what it takes to make something excellent. I'm still not the best. I still very much lack a lot of foundational work, but just this much is enough for me to get a understanding of, holy shit, this is what makes something so good. It's a combination of things. It's the levels in which, or the degrees in which you choose to make something happen. Like, if I choose 1 drop of sweet leather with 3 drops of something like a vanilla, it will smell completely different, taste also completely different, as opposed to 4 drops of sweet leather and 1 drop of vanilla. So it's being able to discern for yourself how much do I need of what, and being mindful of the proportions. Why the hell am I telling you this? It is to solidify that, to me, life is not just about one-dimensional thinking or two-dimensional thinking. It's about multi-dimensional thinking, right? The perfumes themselves, while they were a fun hobby, is not something that I can really make monetary income from unless I start a business of my own, which is a possibility now since I know that there are base scents that exist, what kind of base scents to get, and how to mix them so that the customer finds this scent to be the most unique one that they have tried. You can definitely go down that route, but the route that I've gone down is a little different in the approach that, yes, these perfumes are for social situations and they are conversation starters. So when that conversation gets going, select what perfume do you wear, it's easy for me to say I make my own perfume, and they get kind of fascinated by that and they get a little bit more interested in me by that. And I walk them through the process of making these perfumes and basically everything that I've told you so far. And they ask me, like, can you get me a perfume? And to be honest with you, I have never gotten anybody perfume except for this one time. Like, I've never consciously put effort into thinking of somebody, imagining them, and letting feelings dictate the direction that I want to take the scent with. You see, this person is a little special to me, and I really want to do as much as I can to impress this person or to let them know that I deeply care about them. And so I went the extra mile to stress test every single possibility that was available to me that more and more resembled her. And that was like a stupidly magical process to like do, like even if that person does not end up having the same feelings towards me, I am still so happy that I could imagine somebody and get their essence distilled down into a bottle and give that to them and say, hey, I think I've encompassed you in a fragrance. That is art to me. That is creativity to me. I have a lot of passion to like talk about stuff like this, but it's not extremely straightforward to like bring about these topics, right? Because look at where I started and look at where I'm going. Like, how do you patch this together in a video that is like 7 tips to help you glow up for 2024 or something clickbaity like that? Like, I really don't know. And because of that, I always felt a sort of hesitation to talk in front of the camera because I'm like, who is gonna listen to me and what value are they gonna get from this? And I think after a little bit of contemplation, I finally understood what value I am providing to myself by doing this and what value you are getting by watching me. Is that I am taking you on a journey that teaches you how to fall back in love with life, which is essentially just elevating your creativity. And creativity is something that is extremely valued in our society. It might not be evidently so based on um, sheer interactions. I mean, if you're a creative, you know how, especially in India, how narrow minded people can be. But creativity is genuinely valued, especially when you're at the top. Like, the simplest would be logo design, right? Like the Nike tick mark, the swish, or Apple's logo, um, multiple others. I don't need to list all of them out. But the person that designed that logo is insanely creative, and he has been tremendously rewarded for it. But you might be thinking to yourself, I'm not in a creative field. I'm just a secretary, an accountant. Like, what does creativity have to do with my life? Quite a lot, actually. Like, you'd be surprised with how much creativity can dictate your experience of what it's like to be living. It's rather powerful once you understand it. Every single situation can be enriched 100 times or more just by being able to look at it through a creative lens. Like, isn't that insane to you? It was to me, and I truly did not believe that that was possible because how can something just be enriched or be better by just me saying that, yes, this is creative? Doesn't make sense. It's quite counterintuitive. But then I started paying attention. I started noticing details. into what makes that situation particularly creative, because that situation is unique. Creativity is unique. That situation has never happened before and it never will happen again. The particular instance of that situation, like the saying goes, the same man never steps on the same river twice. Because the man is constantly changing and so is the river. So you could say that the same man never steps in the same river once, also, in a way, if you want to talk about the highest perspective. So, this, coming back to this, why am I speaking in front of the camera? Why is there no editing done? Why is there no cuts? Well, I want to be an eloquent speaker. That's one thing. I feel like there's a lot of power in public speaking, or even just like speaking in front of the camera. I think that's a very underrated skill, and I want to develop on that skill. Maintaining eye contact with the camera as thoughts are flooding into my mind is quite difficult to do, and so you tend to like just look away just to catch your thought and then come back. So I want to avoid little things like that, like little nuances like that. Like right now, I'm sitting on a chair with no back support, and that's making me be very more present in front of the camera as opposed to laying back on a chair with a backrest, because that gives a more relaxed feel, and some of my thoughts don't end up being as congruent as I would like it to be. As opposed to now, when I'm sitting with a straight back, I'm forced to engage my core, I'm forced to engage on my posture and deliver on the speaking as perfectly as possible, because this posture that I'm sitting in is, while it might be good for my back, it's still painful to entertain for a long time. So little nuances like this, like I want to discover them and I want to understand why some things work, why some things don't. For example, if I was to have a conversation, a podcast style conversation with somebody, this probably won't be the right environment to place them in, where I need to make sure that to have the best conversational style conversation going, I need to make them comfortable. Like, it might seem blatantly obvious that that is true, but unless you have tried it for yourself, you really don't know what works and what doesn't. And I had to experiment with all of these factors for the past 4 years to see what really sticks and what doesn't stick and what I have to discard. Understanding is what I aim to achieve through this. Understanding who I am, who I want to be, why I want to be that person. And hopefully through that journey, I can inspire you guys to understand who you are for your own self. Because we tend to be harsh on ourselves. And that's unfortunate, because the love that you were given when you were growing up, from parents, from friends, from relatives, pets, if you had any, the love that you received shaped you into who you are, both physically and spiritually. And the love that you gave yourself manifested into who you became. I think that's a beautiful way to put it. And so you see, love is very important. I get to indulge in watching myself a few years later down the line and see and track really what my developmental stage was back then and how I've evolved, and if the pace in which I'm growing is good enough, or if I need to change something about myself. because now I get to see videos that I made 3 years ago and I look back on it and I'm like, oh my Lord, I genuinely, through life experiences and through practice of putting myself in front of the camera, I've genuinely become better at this. But there's still a lot to go. No, make no mistake. But I'm very happy with the progress that I've made so far. And I'm so glad that I've documented part of that process in public so that when people get to see what my first video was and compare it to where I am right now, they can see, oh my God, you've evolved. And that positive feedback is extremely essential for me to continue growing as a person. That external validation is a very nice cherry on top with the whipping cream to have when you've already had a cake, when you've already baked a cake yourself. But also, one of the biggest setbacks that I'm facing right now is this pressure to be better. Be better than my last video. And by that, it's not just in my delivery, it's also in the content that I wish to speak about. Which is why, like, it's easier for me to take a 3 month break and come back with a significantly better video from the last time that I had uploaded, because life experience has taught me something and that has made me evolve. But it's hard to really evolve from one video to the next if you're doing a video um, every week or twice every week. Like, it's still evolution, but it's very difficult to see that evolution. And sometimes you might feel like you're also walking backwards, which is not the feeling that I would like to have, especially when I want to really progress on this. And so that's sort of like a limiting belief that's holding me back from actually making the most out of this platform. You see, like, my thoughts were not congruent here, but still I felt like there was some amount of value to take away from this, but it's nearly not enough for me to genuinely want to upload. Um, some might say that it's good and that I can upload, and I probably might. But still, I want to do better for myself because I feel like the audience that watches me, you, deserve much better. And so it's a constant pursuit of needing to be better for yourself, but also for the people that you are trying to lead, because the frame that I want to set is that of a leader. And being a leader is one of the most difficult things that you can do in your life, because being a leader means that you have to have integrity, and having integrity means that you have to live up to the ideals that you're preaching. And the ideals that I preach are quite high, and the standards that I set for myself are quite high, but there are days in which I can't fulfill on those habits when nobody is watching me. It's easier to, like, cower away and do what's most convenient, but that always backfires on you. And so this is my confession to you, that I am going to do better. I am going to make the most out of this platform that has been given to me. And I'm going to make sure that the value that I'm outputting is very worthwhile to the investment that you are putting in watching me. I want to make a case a case for content like this, where if you can shut off that lizard brain that wants the most amount of dopamine all the time and pay attention for a quick second, that their lives can significantly, exponentially get better. That is the inevitable purpose of the channel. That has always been the purpose of the channel. It's just that I took a lot of time figuring out the format of how I want my content to be. And one thing that I recognize in myself is that I think the most through language. And because of that, my vocabulary is also kind of robust. It's not the best. More often than not, substitute difficult words just to feel smart rather than trying to simplify everything down, distill everything down. But still, it's a process that I'm doing so that I get better myself. Like, I'm not perfect. You should not treat my words anything more than a kid trying to figure his shit out. And if it works, well, then maybe that can encourage you to try it out fully for yourself. But that does not mean that it might fully work for you as well. There are cautions to remember. Not all the tactics that I speak might work for you. But there's also a case to be made that that if you just break out of your shell and truly discard all of that baggage, everything that I say might just click. Like, it could be an instantaneous click and you could turn your life around 180. So that's it from me today. Willy Wonka is out. Thank you so much for watching, guys. And until next time, peace.